All right, I think we can get started. It's 11:01, and we have a very tight, packed agenda. So yeah, welcome, greetings everyone to this LSIC metal workshop organized by ISRU and Excavation and Construction focus groups here at APL. My name is Athonu Chatterjee. I am leading the LSIC Excavation and Construction focus group. Along with Karl, Andrea, and the whole of LSIC, I would like to welcome you to this metal workshop, and we have named it beautifully, Regolith to Rebar Metal Workshop. So as the title suggests, we're going to talk about metals, supply and demand perspectives of metals. So before moving on to the technical details, I would like to request Andrea to talk about some important stuff. Andrea?
Thank you so much, and hi there, everybody. We're so excited to see you for today. As you can see, we're in a Zoom webinar setup. If you are interested in asking questions of the presenters at any time, please make sure you use Zoom's Q&A tool, which you can find in the bottom bar along with your mute and stop video button. The chat is really only if you have any technical issues that you would like to have assistance with. So do please use the Q&A tool, and you can upvote people's questions if you would like to, if you see a question that you particularly are interested in. We will be recording everything today, and it will be posted on the event page, so you will have access to it after the event. For our speakers, just a quick reminder to mute yourself when you're not speaking, audio and video. But when you are presenting or participating in a panel, we'd love to have your video on if you can, but no worries if you can't. So we're looking forward to today, and thanks very much for being here. The way that the session is going to run is that we have an introduction that obviously we're in right now. After this, we have a NASA panel featuring Nikki Werkheiser, Mark McDonald, Jerry Sanders, and Mark Hilberger. Then at 12:20, we're going to move into the supply side regolith extraction portion of the event. We'll have a number of presentations from subject matter experts. And after that will be a mini panel where they will address questions directly about the supply side of this interesting issue. Then we'll take a quick break at 1:50 so everybody can grab some coffee or whatever you need to get through the afternoon. And then at 2 o'clock, we'll pick up again with the demand side, construction needs and drivers. Again, the model we'll be using is having a number of panelists presenting, followed by a mini panel where questions will be answered. Followed by another break at 3:20 and our final all-together combined panel discussion at 3:30 when everybody from the supply and demand side are going to come together and answer your questions and have some great, I'm going to use a buzzword, synergizing conversations about this topic. We hope that this is a really productive experience for everybody and that you learn something. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Andrea. So moving on to LSIC, first of all, if you're not a member of LSIC, please consider joining LSIC. The website appears here down below. And LSIC has grown tremendously over the last 2 years, and everything you need to know about lunar surface technology, resources, meetings, different capability areas, you can find it at LSIC. So we have 6 focus groups: excavation and construction, you see here, ISRU, surface power, extreme access, extreme environment, and dust mitigation. So I'm leading the excavation and construction focus group. A few words about this focus group. Our charter is to develop technologies that enable construction of infrastructure on the lunar surface to establish a sustained human presence. We have grown tremendously over the last 2 years, as you can see, and we have a wide spectrum of representation from industry, academia, government. Our team is led by Mark Hilberger, who's leading the E&C efforts at NASA. And we have a great team here at the APL too. We have monthly meetings on the 4th Wednesday of every month, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And these meetings are well attended and very informative. And we have our Wiki Confluence websites and thematic workshops, such as this one and many more. So if you want to join LSIC, and if you want to join our focus group, please go to the LSIC website down below. So moving on to this workshop, in situ derived metals, the demand side perspective. So obviously ENC comes from the demand side. Lunar base, needless to mention, will need metals for long-term stay. And some of the applications are shown here: hardware tools, spare parts, potentially blaster walls for launch and landing pads, and novel combination of metals and ceramics can be used for long-term habitats, and then pipes, cables, and so on. And there is supply of metals on Moon, as you see in the table here. Some of the commonly used metals in everyday life, like aluminum, iron, silicon, and other metals. So the question we are asking from the demand side is what type of metals and what quality of metals we need for keeping in mind lunar conditions, the conditions that prevail, or the type of applications we are talking about on the Moon. And what are the gaps and challenges in lunar metals processing? And could we build an ecosystem with industry, NASA, and academia? So these are some of the questions we hope to address in this workshop from the demand side perspective. And now for the supply side perspective on ISRU, let me hand it over to Karl. Karl?
Thanks, Athonu. And don't go anywhere because you're driving the slides.
Sure.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us to, I think, our inaugural joint EC and ISRU workshop, where we are going to address, as Athonu just went over, the supply and demand issues. Now, as far as the ISRU focus group goes, we meet monthly, just like all the other 5 focus groups, every third Wednesday of the month at 3 to 4 p.m. with extra breakout sessions, with one of the themes being O2 extraction with a focus on metal extraction too in one of the breakout groups. And you can see the mailing list and websites and everywhere you need to go to sign up to attend and get emails both from the focus group from ISRU as well as any other focus groups. And this is a group effort from 6 of us here at APL. You see my cohorts there. And we work very closely with the 2 NASA counterparts. And Jerry's actually speaking later this morning. Also work with Omar. Well, we have a very diverse base in our group, and we generally have between 70 to 100 attendees at our monthly focus group meetings. And again, I may have skipped over this, but you probably read it. Our focus is on extracting the resources on the surface of the Moon, which means oxygen, water, other volatile resources, as well as what we're discussing today, metals. Okay. And then identifying what technologies we need to support. All right, let's move on to the next slide because we only have 2 minutes till we want to get on with the show. So the supply side perspective, this is again a supply and demand conference like we had with Propellant back over a year ago. In this case, supply is metals. So what can we get from the metal, from the regolith itself? The regolith is made of 40% oxygen. That means there's 60% of everything else in it. And depending on whether you land in highland terrain or Mare terrain, you have different compositions. What can we reasonably expect to extract in the near term and long term from this regolith that can then potentially be used by the construction folks in making structures for enabling a sustained presence on the surface of the Moon? So, O2 from regolith, but what about the metals? Highland versus Mare are very important considerations that we'll get into because they have compositional differences that dramatically affect what you can extract from them. So what would those products be, right? Well, move on to the next slide, please. And we'll get to the goal of our workshop, which is to develop a common and realistic understanding, mutual understanding between the supply side, which is, ISRU, and the demand side, which is the construction side, but what is possible for the development use of metal ISRU in the near term. Right now, it's my perspective that the demand side has some great demands on us, anywhere from manufacturing solar panels to building by making rebar and building those structures from the rebar on the surface of the Moon. And the supply side is more on the struggling side of, well, what metals can we really extract, what purity, and what rates? So our goal today, I think, in part, is to even out, balance out this understanding so that we have a mutual understanding that's effective for the way to go forward in the near term and long term for the extraction and use of metals and metal-like products for developing a sustained presence on the surface of the moon. Hopefully we identify gaps, and we identify also potentially now or later technology that need development. So I am 1 minute over, which is fine. Next slide. As I am the one who is to still speak, I believe, and introduce our NASA panel. Right.